YouTube, what is up? If you don't know who I am, my name is Shalom, and honestly I just like making videos. So I thought today that I would make a video about everything I learned throughout the wedding season. Yay! And hopefully this video is helpful in calming down some nerves, whether you're recently engaged or about to walk down the aisle, or you're in whatever season of life. It doesn't have to be in that particular one. I know when I was engaged and just going through the process, I was looking up YouTube and Pinterest and all different things and trying to see what people around me were doing. And of course it's not always about what people around you are doing, but it's such a big day in your life that sometimes you're like, what is a general framework? How should we be doing this? It feels very big and overwhelming and exciting. Don't forget to stay to the end, because that's where I'll give like all my recap based on what we talked about in this video. Let's begin. I'm gonna switch up the order that I'm gonna share this. Actually, I hope that this helps ground and calm some nerves. I know for me, when I first got engaged, I didn't have like a whole Pinterest board of how I want things to be, and it was really starting from zero. And we had an 8-month-long engagement, which honestly was a good time for us. I know a lot of people do a year, maybe 2 years. Some people do 6 months, 4 months. But I just want to say that it is super fun to let Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, all the things, when you see other content creators going through their bridal series, or I even did a little bit of that on my YouTube channel. I revived my YouTube channel because I was like, I'm getting married, and like YouTube's always been one of those like bucket list things that I was like, let me just try it and kind of see. I understand getting inspo, but I just want to remind you that inspo means it's inspiration. You don't have to copy it exactly, and there's gonna be different hurdles that you're gonna go through in this engagement season that you're gonna navigate with your spouse, that you just have to know that it's gonna be okay. And what are my values? What I think is most important, crucial, and will like guide this whole conversation is, what are your values? What are you and your spouse's values? I think that that's not just a marriage thing. When you're planning something as big, if you're having a big wedding or even a small wedding, you're doing something together. This is a project that you guys are doing leading into the wedding day, and it's important to have those values, because when little things along the path come up, those values can kind of reground you. And so I wrote down 3 of ours so it could give an example. First one was make the money work. It is very easy to get in the flow of, it's a bridal things, this is a once in a lifetime thing. It's so easy to get caught with that and be like, well, we're gonna have to cherish these memories, which is true, which is valid. I'm with you, because guys, I just told you that I started like doing vlogs with YouTube because like this is a once in a lifetime thing, but also like kind of ground that with what is truly you. And that was, for us, make the money work, no waste. We didn't want to waste money on things that didn't matter. I knew that I wanted to stay within a financial safety because of how we want to set ourselves up for marriage. And my husband was also on the same mind. That didn't mean that we cut out all the fun stuff or that we lowball on all the fun stuff. That means that we pick and choose what makes sense and what makes the money work, what makes the money actually have value, especially in such an age of inflation. Another one was family matters, and it's a huge thing. For my husband, he's very in touch with his family. I'm very in touch with my family. I wanted to hear my family's inputs. He wanted to hear his family inputs. And I know this can be a very touchy subject because not everyone has like the blessing to have a family that has such a positive influence in their life. And I say that with care, and so I understand that if that's not your case, or if you have a tighter regulation around that, it's not to say like you have to do this. Again, this was just our values. Their thoughts, their opinions, them being incorporated into our wedding day mattered, and that was something that we wanted to remember and walk away with. Okay, and then the last thing is memories. So this is kind of like the whole like timeless thing where it's like, oh my gosh, it's a once in a lifetime thing. So for me, I was like, okay, what are the few things that really matter to me? If you guys have other things, I would like to hear it in the comment section. My number one thing, like the number one thing that I was like firm with people, was photos and videos. And as you guys can see, I really value that because that's quite literally a time capsule of everything. So I was like, I'm not playing on this. I want good photographers, good videographers. Okay, we can like, you know, up the budget. And my husband was also like, he's into photography and stuff, so that was cool. That is something that, you know, other people may be like, oh, we don't really need to do that much on that, but we were like, okay, this matters. A bridal bouquet, which honestly I felt like we got at a good price. Location, I wanted to have a good venue because that was gonna set the tone and the whole theme. Also on location is culturally in our Eritrean community, the venue kind of type of wedding isn't really what we're used to. So this is a really interesting conversation to navigate with my side of the family, to hear about that, because it's so common in American culture, but in our culture, like in Eritrean culture, it's like, you know, you can do it at a hotel, you can do it in the church, and then go to a reception venue or whatever. That was one of the things where it's like, I think that I just want to do it at a venue because we have a lot of people coming internationally from all over the world, and transportation, logistic wise, and also stylistic wise, it's a lot easier for me to navigate that. So that was something I was pretty like on the point. The last thing is the wedding dress. I loved my wedding dress. I wish I had my wedding photos to like kind of show you guys some photos, but they're coming soon. My wedding dress, I loved it, but I'm also wondering like, what do I do with it now? Some people are saying sell it. Some people are saying like you keep it for your future children, but I don't know. I don't know if my future children would want their own. So I'm like, does it really matter to save it? But then selling it feels so transactional because it was super sentimental. Those are some of the things, but overall, our goal is to make it fun, but stress-free. Now let's get into some of the hard things and then some of the highlight things. Before we get into all the logistical sides of the wedding, I do want to say that there's something I don't feel like people talk about a lot, which is that there's a lot of emotions you are going to go through during the wedding season. There's going to be like financial things that you're going to go through, emotional things you're going to go through, maybe grief and joy at the same time. And sometimes on Instagram, Pinterest, we only see like delicate, joyful, happy, fun things, and we don't realize that a lot of brides or brides-to-be or people who are getting married, grooms as well, they're going through a lot of stuff as they're navigating what it means for the two to become one. There's a few things that I wanted to point out. For me, it was leaving my parents' home and moving into this new home with my husband. A lot of people have their own living alone season, or maybe even if you are living alone, it's just like, especially as a woman, you're leaving your family and starting a new one. Of course, it's the same thing for the men, but it feels a little bit different, right? For both point of views, exiting singlehood and being married, navigating that with your friends, your family and community, and what does that look like? And there's gonna be a lot of change and transition that you're gonna navigate, and that evokes different kinds of emotions. So just to let you know, it's gonna be okay. And if you're going through those emotions, you're not doing it wrong, or you're not ungrateful. Because a lot of times I'll be like, why am I like going through all these emotions? It's like a happy time, and I was so happy, but there's just a lot of layers too, and that's okay for there to be complexity. And then also, if you're a Christian, as we are, there may be spiritual warfare that you're navigating, because the devil does not like marriage. He does not like to see two people who love God come together and honor him, you know. And one of the grounding things for me, especially from a Christian context, was a lot of prayer, having prayer warriors praying for us, and just communicating with God, like, God, I want it to be a beautiful day. Also, I want to keep you at the center and help me to stay grounded, help me to know what actually, like, discerning and all those things. Some things that were high priority, pay attention to, is pick a venue. If you're gonna go the venue route, pick a venue, lock in the date, because a lot of people who take a longer engagement season, they're booking it in further. So we took 8 months, but there may be people who take a year and a half, and they already have those dates locked in. So being aware, if you want to get married during a certain season, and kind of adjust that with different people. So we had people coming from overseas, so we needed to work around their schedules as well to see what day met the most amount of people's availabilities. On the safer end, it's especially in the US, always double check and book in advance. If you're a decisive person, this point may not be so important for you, but if you struggle with decision making, another thing that I would say helps is locking in your wedding color palette, because you will be able to communicate things to other vendors a lot easier of what you want and the overall vibe. And for us specifically, our venue is very like white. So it was a white chapel, like a white reception area. So we really had freedom, like a lot of creative freedom to do what we wanted to, allowing yourself to explore, especially if you're indecisive, and knowing that it's gonna be okay. And the last thing I say, which was really challenging for me, was actually invitation. I think most people go through that kind of battle. I would just say start early, writing it out, knowing and doing that, because my personality is all are welcome, the more the merrier. But one of the limitations of being in a venue was we were capped at a certain number, and so that was a limitation, and really understanding how to navigate that. Okay, now to the fun stuff. Is super helpful things were talk to people who are around you. Are there people getting married? Maybe they know some vendors that could help you. Are there people who already got married? If you know me in real life and you're getting married or you're engaged, talk to me. Like, we're more than happy to let you know. I mean, most people are not gatekeepers in real life. I think maybe that's just an Instagram thing, but most people want to help and share. And a lot of people were helping me figure out decor, figure out our DJ, figure out just different things. And it was super, super helpful, and it helped us actually save a lot of money and have confidence on the wedding day, because word of referral is always going to be stronger than reading a Google review or reading, other things. And as someone who struggled asking for help, I encourage that. Okay, this one's a little silly, but it's trust your intuition, which we already talked about earlier, but also the little details won't matter. Okay, so I told you guys about the color palette and just kind of trusting my intuition instead of hearing what other people have to say, which doesn't mean you tune out what other people have to say. But if you're a people pleaser, which I'm not, I'm an overcoming people pleaser, it can be hard to navigate that. I have so many photos of like different cloths and materials and shades of napkin colors, and when I tell you on the wedding day, I did not care what napkin I was using to wipe my mouth. I just didn't care. If it was at least pink, close to the color, that was more than enough. Because when you're just thinking about, like, is it generally beautiful? Am I generally enjoying this date? Oh, here are all the people I love. Oh, I love my dress. I love the bouquet. The groom looks handsome. I'm gonna get to marry you for the rest of my life. This is beautiful. Like, those are the kind of thoughts that are going in your brain, not how many flowers are on this table, kind of thing. And so, like, the little details don't matter. But if there's something where you have a hunch where it won't affect your financial budget too much, I think you should do it. There was this trend on Pinterest that I saw, which I loved, which was the vertical golden mirror with decal on it with our names and the date of our wedding, and then little flowers on the bottom. And at first I was like, we don't really need to do that. It's not necessary. But then me and my husband were talking about it, and we're like, well, it's not that big of a financial burden, we can do it. And so I did it, and when I walked out of the chapel, when we walked out, that was the first thing I saw. It was so beautiful, and I saw people taking pictures in it, and I was like, I was like, wow. That's the thing, where it's like kind of balancing the two, where it's like the little details, like the fork, the this, the that. Yes, it does, but it's really, that depends on your personality. But from what I've gathered from a lot of people, it didn't really matter. Okay, now let's talk. Last kind of segment is the different events. For the bridal shower, I'm Eritrean American, so growing up, my parents did not have like a bridal shower. So that is an interesting thing to navigate. It's an American thing. It's not an Eritrean thing. So as an Eritrean American, you have like this hybrid lived experience where you're like, okay, based on what I'm seeing in American culture with my American friends, this is how a bridal shower should kind of go. For us, like when we go to American bridal showers, they have all these games and things, which is interesting that people who are gonna go to my bridal shower are Eritrean and Americans. So navigating that hybrid audience, we don't really play games, but we like to sing, So it's like interesting, like navigating the itinerary for that and knowing that it's gonna be a little bit different from what you see online. I guess what I would say is, if you have a dynamic like that where there's a lot of cultural different things going on in the background, aesthetics matter, but I think program matters more. Because that's what the actual time that you're spending with the people is what matters. And also something that I felt like God taught me was, I wanted to have it at a women's club because I saw another person do it at the women's club. And I was like, this is so chic. We don't even have to worry about decorating. It'll be all and done. 1 week leading up to the bridal shower, I started having a weird gut feeling about, I don't know, should we have just done it at home? This goes back to our value. This did not make the money work. It was definitely one of those things where I'm like trying to be in the mindset of like once in a lifetime. But I was like, oh, it just seems like such a good idea. It just is so cute. And I was like, it feels so right. And I talked to my husband about it. He was like, yeah, the money doesn't really make sense on this one, but it's okay. We can do it. 2 days, guys. 2 days before the bridal shower, I get a call from the, event manager. And she's so sweet, so kind, but she's like, I don't know what to tell you. A skunk has sprayed the whole club room. It smells awful. I was like, what do you mean a skunk sprayed it? And I was so shocked. So she's like, you can come up and see it and just let me know what you think, but I don't really think the event can happen. And I was like, what? 2 days before kind of thing. Like, it was locked in kind of thing. So we got a full refund from them. And we had to go back to square one in 2 days. I was like, oh, this is a really big lesson where it's like substance matters more than aesthetics. And if you can do the aesthetics, do it. Because don't get me wrong, it was so aesthetic, so cute, but it wasn't like the cute theme and everything, like how I wanted it to be based on Instagram. But looking back on it, that's not what I actually needed nor wanted. And sometimes hindsight is 20/20. So I just want to give you that example where it's like, got canceled in 2 days, we had to regroup. It was still okay. And then for the bachelorette, a lot of people are going to do like week bachelorettes, weekend bachelorettes. I think weekend's pretty common. But me, I knew, what did we say? Stress-free and fun. So I was like, I'd rather just do a one-night thing where we like have a girls' night Friday night and an exploration date Saturday in the city that we live in. And honestly, the simplicity helped alleviate unnecessary stress for us to make it really fun, because we went to a coffee class. It was just so cool. I just give that advice. If you are someone like me where you're like simple and easy, if it's easy for everyone to navigate, if your bridesmaids aren't stressed out in the process of doing it, everyone's gonna have a better time, because everyone can really emphasize on the beauty of what's happening versus like, okay, like logistically thinking everything, if that kind of makes sense. Last but not least is my overall recap. I really hope that this is encouraging. It was a lot of information, a lot of talking on my end, but I really wanted to make this video to encourage other women, whether they're, you're single and you're like planning, which girl, honestly, if I had done that, that kind of would have helped me a little bit. I know there's a stigma of people saying, oh, like you shouldn't plan all that stuff before, but hey, those ladies, they were more decisive too, because they had already thought those things through. So there's no shame on that, because I started ground zero. But overall recap is, number one, know your values and stay within those boundaries. Whenever you find yourself getting outside that boundary, you're gonna start feeling a little tension. I found myself doing that with wanting to have my bridal shower at the clubhouse. There's nothing in itself that was an issue with that, and I love it, and I still think it's super chic and super cute. But there was something that I had to learn where it was about the substance over the aesthetics, and that was my overall value in that season, where it's like, the aesthetics are amazing. I do want them to happen, but also at the same time, don't let them compromise the substance or the values that you've preset. Number two is honor your spouse and work as a team. I think especially as brides, it's easy to be like, everything's on me. I need to control and handle it, because there's more feminine energy. Like, there's the color palettes, there's the dress, there's the aesthetics, there's the hosting and planning events. And like, your wedding is kind of like a hosting and planning event, which kind of, I feel like, traditionally lands in feminine territory. But there's also a lot of logistical things that are there that you really would be surprised how your spouse could help you. And for me, my husband was the logistic king. He really, and also I have to give hats off to my mother too. She was also a logistic queen. But like, he really helped so much in that area, because I am not a logistic queen. I'm more of like a hospitality, like come over, let's have fun. But when it comes to like logistical stuff, simple, fun, stress-free. I think being able to communicate with your spouse and knowing, maybe as the woman, you're more logistical and your husband is more into like something else, or you never know what that could be. But just evaluating your strengths and weaknesses and working as a team instead of always feeling like the pressure is on you, really I think could help overall make the season better. Another one was be gracious to yourself, speak up for yourself, trust your intuition, and especially if you're indecisive, it's okay to take action on your own decisions. Lastly is cherish the memories. My friend who got married before me told me, take picture memories of the day. And actually one of her bridesmaids shared that with us, because in her group, like 3 of us were getting married, and she's like, whenever it's your wedding day, kind of take like mental pictures of what's going on. And that was a very sweet advice that she gave, because that's what I did. Like when I was in the bridal suite taking mental pictures, when I was in the church walking down the aisle taking mental pictures, and like really seeing the day for what it was. And so now, like, it's not even like a blur. The day goes by really fast. That is so true. But it's also like I remember what happened. I remember walking down. I remember my dad giving me over. I remember seeing people's faces, like specific faces, when I was walking down the aisle. And that's just so beautiful. And not just at the wedding, at the bridal shower. Take mental pictures of what's going on. That weird, funny story made it so much more memorable. Now I always remember my bridal shower. That bachelorette party, just doing it the way that, you know, was true to me, makes me remember that and like have those special memories. So, you know, be you, stay you, God loves you, it's gonna be okay, and I hope you really have the full joy in this season. Congratulations if you're engaged this season, and I hope this video really blessed y'all and helped y'all, and stay tuned for more content. Be blessed. Bye guys!